Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sitting Down with an Athletics Director, State of the Programs. I am Richard Holdridge here on Georgia, Alabama Sports Live, and we are here at Columbus High School, the oldest public high school in the Fountain City that's been around since 1890. A lot of tradition and history in this high school. And I'm here with the Assistant Athletic Director, Coach Danielle McCoy.
Yes.
Coach, great having you here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, before we dive into all the sports, talk a little bit about your playing background. Where'd you grow up, your coaching background, and what led you to being a coach and eventually the Assistant Athletic Director?
So I am originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I got my bachelor's at EKU, and my bachelor's is in athletic training. So wanting to do athletic training, originally I wanted to go into that and just that alone. If you would have asked me then if I was going to be a teacher or a coach, I would have probably laughed at you and been like, what are you talking about? I had no desire at that point to get into education or anything like that. But the coaching part, I did kind of want to dabble in that a little bit. But I went on alternative spring break when I was in undergrad, went to a school in St. Louis, and came back from that thinking, how do I get into this thing of teaching and education? Talked to my advisor, and he told me about the Houston program down here in Columbus. Applied, started in 2010. I moved down here, and I've been here ever since. I did the athletic training program with Houston and got my master's at CSU in education, and I guess 14 years later, here I am.
And that's an incredible journey that led you here to Columbus all the way from Kentucky. But you are also not just the Assistant Athletic Director,
Yes.
You are the cross-country coach.
Correct.
And also, any other sports you coach here at Columbus?
I've done cross-country, of course, the last few years. My first 2 years here at Columbus, I did volleyball under Coach Fleming. So I was the assistant volleyball coach, and then I was the JV head coach. Dr. Crumbs, who was previously the principal, called me in and asked me if I would be interested in taking over the cross-country program, and I've done that ever since. And then in the spring, I do track.
All right, so what are your duties and responsibilities as an Assistant Athletic Director, and what's your working relationship like with the AD, Coach Chad Mathis?
So Coach Mathis and I work pretty closely together as his assistant. Anything that he needs, whether it's administrative duties, making sure paperwork gets submitted, answering questions with other coaches if he's not able to be there, sitting in on parent meetings that coaches might need to have, and just supporting him with the overall development of our athletics program here at Columbus High School.
You know, one thing that's very unique about Columbus High, like I mentioned, not only is it the oldest public school here in Columbus, but it also is a magnet school.
Correct.
That has very unique sports, and we will get into some of those sports. You have sports that not other schools here in Muskogee County have.
Correct.
And we'll end up talking about that. But my final question before we go on break is, Coach, who are some of your mentors? Who are some people that you look up to, that you reach out for advice to when you're taking on this role to try to make sure that you're doing it to standard, but also you want to make sure that you're leaning on some people to give you good advice, when you're going through your day-to-day operations?
Yes. Outside of the support that I have here at the school, I've got a lot of support from our coaches that we have here, administration, of course, Coach Mathis, but outside of the building, Coach Mills over at Hardaway.
Yes.
He and I talk quite frequently. Coach Kegler at Spencer, he and I talk a lot. We actually have a group chat with us. And then Coach Battles, our district athletic director. I'm always texting them, calling them, hey, what can I do to do better? What advice do you have for me? Coach Hunley, all the athletic directors around the city, they've done a great job of helping me make sure I'm on the right road, any questions that I have, just getting advice, seeing how they do things at their schools, how can I incorporate some of those things. I talked to my dad, who's a coach back home. Coaching's in our blood, so hitting up my dad, my uncle, some of my coaches from when I was in high school, just making sure I have that support system, because you can't do it by yourself. If you try to, you're not going to be successful. and you always have to be open to criticism and willing to learn from everybody around you.
Absolutely. And with the new reclassification, that relationship with those other ADs in the surrounding areas in Columbus just got a little bit closer, especially since you're all going to play each other in this new reclassification. But also, being an assistant athletic director, I mean, it's really the stepping stone to become an AD someday. I mean, is that your ultimate goal, is to be an athletic director someday?
Yes. I was telling the students when they were asking me about it a few months ago, towards the end of the school year, they asked me, well, Coach McCoy, what does it really entail? And trying to get them to understand all of the things and the moving pieces. It's a job that I don't even know if you could really sit down and explain everything, because you think you've got it all and then you get a text or a call and it's like, oh yeah, and you've got this as well. So there are a lot of moving parts to it, but I do enjoy the challenge. No 2 days are alike. There's always something that you didn't expect. You can plan as much as you want to, but being open and flexible to know that you can plan as much as you want, but something can always come up, like that unexpected part of it that comes along with it. I think that challenge is what I enjoy and I like to see.
Well, Coach, I'm excited about going into all the sports. We will do that after our first break. As you are watching Sitting Down with an Athletics Director, State of the Programs, we are live here at Columbus High School, here with the Assistant Athletic Director, Coach Danielle McCoy. We'll be back as this is presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live, presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC.
Check out these great offers at Glenn Smith and Opelika.
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA, the GMC Sierra pickup. Right now, discounted up to $15,500 off. The roomy and comfortable compact SUV, the GMC Terrain, is up to $7,750 off.
Choose from over 400 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way to Glenn Smith and Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back to Sitting Down with an Athletics Director, State of the Programs. I'm Richard Holdridge here for Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Sitting down with the Assistant AD of Columbus High, Coach Danielle McCoy. Now we're going to get into the sports here at Columbus High School. As we're going to start in the fall, but the first sport we're going to start with is cheerleading. Okay. Now you have the cheer team that actually will go to the sporting events like football and basketball, and you also have the competition.
Yes.
So who's the cheerleading coach?
So we actually have 3 different cheerleading teams.
Oh, nice.
So we've got like your sideline team. That's the one you'll see at the football games. You've got our competition team. Those are the ones who will go out. They'll compete around the state. And then we have the basketball cheer team. So our football team, sideline cheer, they're coached by Coach Elder and Coach Holdridge. Our competition team is coached by Coach Duncan. And then our basketball cheer team, she's new this year, and her name is Coach Sawyer.
And now they had a cheerleader that graduated here about 10 years ago. Like, if you weren't paying attention, last year, she was on TV everywhere. We're talking about Charity Lawson.
Yes.
She was on The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and Dancing with the Stars.
Correct.
She cheered here. And you mentioned that you remember when she was here, your first year.
Yeah, she was here one of my first years here at Columbus High School, and I remember seeing her down here in the gym. She was a competition cheerleader, and her personality was one of those you'll never forget. She always had a smile on her face, amazing personality. You never saw her down. Classmates loved her, the teachers loved her, and seeing her on TV was surreal. And that is what you saw on TV is how she was when she was here at Columbus High School.
It really was, and it was great putting Columbus on the map, especially when she had the hometown dates for The Bachelor and just the scenes of the Riverwalk. And really, that pictures of her at Columbus High cheerleading, I think it was just a great moment. Moving on from cheerleading to football. Football sets the tone for the school year.
Correct.
The longtime football coach, Phil Marino, who was the longest tenured coach in Muskogee County, has retired.
Yes.
And he's got a new coach that took his place, the assistant, Bob Peters.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about Coach Peters. What is his coaching philosophy for football? And with the new reclassification, what are the expectations for the upcoming football season?
Coach Peters, going through that hiring process, first of all, was a little stressful, but boiled down to, somebody who is familiar with our program and familiar with kind of how we do things here at Columbus High School. His energy is amazing. He's always go, 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 go. And his philosophy is kind of one of those things where do your job. He spends the time during practice. The guys are in the weight room right now teaching them the plays. They're going over the plays. They're learning the plays. They're learning what he expects versus how Coach Marino ran things. And we're excited to see where the program goes with him taking over. We are sad to see Coach Marino go, but we're excited to see kind of where the program is going to go in the next few years.
And another a very important member of the Columbus football team that has gone on to graduate, Robert Hartford, not only the starting quarterback, but he was just a catch and shoot 3 guy.
Yeah, he was a great athlete.
A tremendous athlete. Got the privilege to know him, and we also live streamed that first game at Kinnett Stadium against Jordan on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Robert Hartford just had a great year last season. But going from football, let's go to some of the girls' sports. We're going to start with volleyball. Who is the volleyball coach?
So our volleyball coach, her name is Coach Lay. I believe this is her 3rd or 4th year. She came in, took over after Coach Fleming, who we all know and love, built a great volleyball program here. And Coach Lay is starting to lay the foundation for kind of how she likes things done, because we all know that every coach does things a little bit differently. So getting the girls to buy in to her way of doing things, we're starting to see that. And we're excited to see how this upcoming season goes, especially with the new region that we're going to be in.
Oh, absolutely.
With all of the teams here in the city. So Coach Fleming did great things, and we're expecting the same with Coach Lay.
All right. Also, you are the cross-country coach.
Correct.
So just talk about some of the things that you've been doing as far as boys and girls cross-country. Do you guys run around Lake Bottom Park? Because that's right across the street.
Yes.
I know that's got to be perfect.
Yes.
That you could just run on that track, but you also probably get out there and run on like dirt trails.
Yes. So with cross-country, we had a great season last year. Girls came in 2nd in state. Boys finished top 10. And we're expecting to finish, if not in the same place we did last year, if not better. We do practice down at Lake Bottom, so we do a little bit on the track work when we're looking for some speed training. But then we also, like you said, we'll do the trail down there, the figure 8, we'll do the rails to trails. Sometimes our varsity kids will run over to Phoenix City when they're doing their long runs, and of course we're going to make sure that we get some hill training in, and there are lots of hills down here in this area that they can train on.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, in Columbus, there is about a 10-mile trail that starts up in Midland at Solomon Road, and it goes all the way to the Riverwalk.
Yes.
I'm sure that you guys run that
Absolutely.
often.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of miles that they can actually put on and just run that trail. It's absolutely incredible. All right, moving on from cross-country to softball. Now, here in the GHSA, the softball teams, they do play in the fall. Team made the playoffs last year.
Yes.
So just talk about who the softball coach is and what are the expectations for a sport that's coming up in about a month. I mean, it's going to be here before you know it.
We believe, I believe we'll start August 1st, somewhere in there.
Yeah, right when the kids get back into school.
We have our first game before school actually starts.
Unbelievable.
Which is, once those fall sports get started, you don't even have time to breathe. It's
you hit the ground running.
Hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
So Coach Wilson is our softball coach. She's been with our program for a few years now, and she's doing great things with them. She's got the girls in the weight room, making sure they're getting bigger, faster, stronger. Kind of same thing we're seeing with the other sports. We're expecting to see them do well, especially getting into our new region. And they had a great season last year. Tough loss to finish the season out, so I'm expecting that we'll go even further this year.
All right, next we're going to talk about flag football, which is a new sport. It's been around for about 4 years.
Yes,
but
about 4 or 5 years now.
Your team has shown some success, because we were talking about some of the athletes you have that have played multiple sports. They're on the volleyball team, but they're turning around and they're playing flag football, because it's offered in the fall, but it's usually later, like maybe the start of October. Who's the flag football coach?
So the flag football coach is Coach Greer. He's not in the building here at Columbus High School. He's at Clubview Elementary, which is right down the street. But he's been the head coach since the program came out from GHSA. First year we won the state championship that it was offered, and that was really a cool experience for those girls. Next year, COVID happened, so we actually weren't able to compete because our program the school actually got shut down due to COVID. So we weren't able to compete because of that. So that was a tough loss because with those girls that we had coming back, we were expecting to repeat. So now we've got a new team. None of those girls are here anymore just because they've graduated. But we have some really talented girls, Serenity Hickman, Allie Lofton. Those are two of the really big girls that we're expecting big things from. Allie Lofton made the Junior Olympics team for the United States. So we're really expecting some great things from those girls this year. And I know Coach Greer is as well.
And then the last sport we want to talk about that's offered in the fall is you do have a rifle team. Just talk about who the coach is and what are some of the things that the rifle team does as far as competitions.
So our rifle team is coached by Sergeant Major Tuggle and Lieutenant Colonel Bolar. So those are the two that are heading up that program.
Very fitting, somebody with military experience that could teach rifle because you got to learn how to fire your weapon when you're in the military.
Right, and they have done great with our program. And that's actually, last week I went in and talked to Miss Allen about some of my goals. And one of my goals for this upcoming season is to make it to more rifle matches. They go around the city and they travel and compete against the different schools here in Muskogee County, but they'll also travel a little bit to some other schools outside of the district. So I want to get out there and watch them compete and, you know, support those student athletes because they put in just as much work as any of the other sports that we have here at the school.
Coach, I do want to get into, before we get into the spring sports, the winter and spring sports, the fact that we are in the weight room, and I think it's important. I know we got a nice backdrop, but we are in the weight room because this is where all the hard work starts.
Correct.
And one thing I noticed that there is a jersey for a great Columbus High football player, Usain Bassey, who went on to play for Wake Forest.
Correct.
He went on to play for the Denver Broncos. He was just in town. He actually had a football camp. Just talk a little bit about that football camp and what is Usain Bassey meant to Columbus High, giving back to the community?
So he'll actually be in town later this weekend. His camp is this weekend.
Oh, nice.
So it's Saturday out at Connect Stadium. So being able to have him back here in Columbus, first of all, is huge. Anytime he's in town and he's able to stop by and talk to the younger guys so they can see, you know, you can go to Columbus High School, you can also make it just like he's made it. So being able to have him here this upcoming week, I'm excited for that camp. And I love anytime our former student athletes are able to come back and maybe not give on the scale of having a camp, but even just coming in and talking to the athletes who are currently here. I think that does wonders for them, and they're able to kind of hear something different because, you know, of course, if a coach is always telling you something, eventually they're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. But once those athletes who've been in their shoes are able to come back, you can kind of see a different shift in those athletes.
And it's great that you mentioned athletes that go on to play at the next level that went here to Columbus High. And we've got a bunch of them.
Yes.
And moving on to winter sports, let's talk about the Columbus High basketball team. When I think of the two greatest basketball players to ever come out of Columbus, I think of Mark Upshaw and Sam Mitchell, which, by the way, they are having their Saymark Foundation basketball camp next week.
Yes.
Columbus High basketball made the playoffs for the first time in 25 years.
Yes.
Coach Carl Ivy Sr. has stepped down. But you have a new head basketball coach. He actually has some championship experience, won a state title with the Jordan Red Jackets in 2007. Talk a little bit about Coach Terrence Hill and what are some of his philosophy. Really, I'm not going to say a rebuilding year, but they did lose a lot of players like Oakley Contz,
a ton
Dre
of seniors
Wooten,
last year. Yes.
Savion Kelly. I mean, that was a great team, but now Coach Hill trying to build back up that program, losing a lot of seniors.
Yeah, so like you said, we lost Dre Wooten, we've lost Oakley, we lost Robert Hartford.
Robert Hartford is exactly.
Carson Baldwin. We lost a lot of talent, a lot of seniors, a lot of leadership. But I do think with Coach Hill coming in, having that experience from when he was at Jordan and then he went on to play at Moorhead State, I think he's going to be able to bring some energy in, replace those. He's got some big shoes to fill. Losing Coach Ivy. Coach Ivy was here for a long time, and I think Coach Hill is actually you know, he's in here with them in the weight room where we are right now.
Yeah.
He's got them working out in the gym. And I think he's starting to kind of build that rapport with the guys. The guys are trusting him more. And I think that he's going to be able to build on that as the season gets going. I'm excited. Savon Kelly will be a junior.
That's right. Yeah.
So, and then we've got some seniors, Marianne Lee. And I'm just excited to kind of see where those guys go, see who's going to step up to be that leader that we're losing from Robert Hartford and Dre Wooten. And I'm excited for the guys. Like you said, last year we had a remarkable run, first time in program history. So hopefully those guys understand what that means and they're able to build on that.
And I don't think people stress how huge that was that Columbus made the playoffs last year. In the region they were in,
Yes.
you had Carver that went to the Final Four, you had Monroe that went to the Final Four, you had Doherty. So you had those teams in that region, and Columbus was able to make the playoffs. Just
Right.
an incredible accomplishment. So let's move on to the girls' varsity basketball team, led by Coach LaShonda Adams, who played for Coach Hicks at Kendrick, was part of that 2004 team that went to the Final Four. Some coaching experience from Pacelli, entering her third season. What I've seen from Coach Adams is just great development of players and continuous improvement as they were on the doorstep of the playoffs last year. Just talk about what Coach Adams means to the Columbus Lady Blue Devils and what's the team looking like this year, because she is getting her leading scorer, Alana Gilbert, back.
Yes.
Losing Jayla Lockhart, but you do have some players coming back, and we were able to see Coach Adams in Summer League at the play date down at Central as they were playing Lochapoka, and we're starting to see growth from what Coach Adams is doing.
And we'll actually have Jayla back. So Jayla will actually be a senior this year. So Jayla Lockhart will be a senior. Alina Gilbert will be a senior.
That's awesome.
And those two are, like you said, they're going to shoot the ball. Alina's going to be able to come in. She's going to make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be. She's a great leader. And having Coach Adams here, you know, when she first got here, it was kind of a rebuilding year. And you can definitely see the growth in the players since she first got here to where they are now. Coach Adams, she's got a lot of energy. She's hard on the girls, where she's going to hold them accountable and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. She's also in here with them in the weight room. She's got them working out in the gym. They're outside running, making sure they're in shape, and they're able to run up and down the floor and compete with the teams around the city.
Well, we believe in what Coach Adams is doing, and I know that the Columbus girls basketball team can get back to that level when they won a state championship led by Coach Joe Sharon in 2017. And then just going into, you know, when you go out of the gym and concessions and seeing the jersey of Katana Soignier, who played 4 years at UConn under Coach Gino Oriema and played in the WNBA, won a WNBA title in 2009 with the Phoenix Mercury, and then played for the Atlanta Dream. So it is possible to play at the next level coming here to Columbus. And I think that Coach Adams is getting the team in the right direction.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
All right, moving on to wrestling. So you have a boys and girls wrestling team, and who's the wrestling coach?
So Coach Keys is a wrestling coach. He's been here forever, and he came in under Coach Larry Morgan, who worked to develop the program here, and then Coach Keys took over. They won the state championship this past season, so that's back-to-back for them, and lost a lot in both of the Tylers who were here, Tyler Wynn and Tyler Secoy, but I do believe that the hard work that Coach Keys puts in, the assistant coaches that he have, they're always working, making sure the players are ready for the tough competition. They're going out and they're playing the toughest teams, not just around the state, but they're going outside of the state. They're going to Tennessee, they go to Florida, to make sure that they're wrestling against tough competition so that they're ready when it's time for them to compete for the state.
You also have a swim team. Who is the swim coach? And do you guys have swim practices at the Cobb Aquatic Center?
So our swim coach last season, it was Coach Elder. She'll be stepping down as the head coach, and so her husband will be taking over George Elder this upcoming season. But they had a great year last year, and they had a ton of seniors that they lost. But the younger kids that they have on the team, I think they're going to be able to step up and fill those shoes of the ones who have gone on to graduate. They do practice down at the Aquatic Center, and I know a lot of times they'll do morning swims, and then in the evening sometimes they'll do what they call, I think, like dry runs, where they're actually doing land training, running down at lake bottom. Sometimes they'll reverse it and they'll do their runs in the morning and they'll swim in the evening time. But they're putting the work in, and they've been working over the summer. They do a lot of club training as well. So I'm excited to see kind of where the program goes with the new leadership. And I do know that Coach Elder is excited for this upcoming season.
All right, Coach, let's get into the spring sports. We're going to start with baseball, the sport that Columbus is known for. We think of the accolades, the legendary Coach Bobby Howard, probably one of the greatest athletes to ever come out of the Fountain City, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas, played for Coach Howard, won a state championship in 1984. But it's not just Frank Thomas. Great baseball players have come from Columbus High, including Reggie Abercrombie, Jordan Weems, who's a relief pitcher for the Washington Nationals, Josh Lester, who was part of that 2006 Northern Little League Championship team. I mean, there are just so many great baseball players out there. And just talk about what Coach Chad Mathis is building, a team that went to the Elite Eight 2 seasons ago. They went to the second round. We had the privilege of seeing Columbus on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. They went toe-to-toe with Central.
Yeah.
Just talk about what Coach Mathis has done as far for the baseball team and really taken over for what Coach Howard has built and for this success for Columbus baseball to continue playing at a high level.
When I first started here, Coach Howard was here. And getting to meet him and work with him, kind of the way that he did things, it was kind of surreal. You would look at him and you wouldn't think that this guy, I was like, this is Coach Howard? And I was like, oh my goodness. So being able to work with him in that capacity, especially as a first-year teacher and coaching here at Columbus High School, he taught me the history of the baseball program here because, like I said previously, I'm not from here. So learning that, it was very eye-opening. He did the groundwork for the program, and now we know that Coach Mathis has taken over since Coach Howard retired. And Coach Mathis, you could tell, spent a lot of time with Coach Howard learning from him, and you can still see some of those traits of Coach Howard when you watch Coach Mathis, not just at practice, but during the games. And he's put in the work to get to know the players, spending the time to make sure that they're ready to step out there and continue to work up to those expectations of being a program that is elite across the state.
Yeah, when you first got here, you saw what Coach Howard did, especially with the 3 straight championships in 2010, 2011, 2012. And by the way, a lot of players that were on that 2006 Northern Little League Championship were on those teams, including Josh Lester and Jordan Weems. And well, Jordan Weems didn't play on that Little League team, but we've seen Columbus baseball become a dominant powerhouse. And I know that Coach Mathis can get this program back to that level. I mean, they were in the Elite Eight 2 seasons ago. And when you think of Columbus baseball, I mean, you think of excellence, especially with the Little League programs with Pioneer, American, Northern, having success up here in the Northern Columbus area. All right, moving from baseball, we're going to go to golf. Golf is very big in Columbus, and we really owe that to Larry Mize. I mean, he really built up golf, but golf has a very special alumni who went here to Columbus. Ben Carr, who was playing in the Masters last year.
Which was exciting.
I know it had to have been exciting for you guys. He did turn pro, and we wish him the best of luck. I know I'm going to follow his PGA Tour career. But to talk about who the golf coach is and where are some of the golf courses they play at. I know the Columbus Country Club over here. I mean, you got Oxbow, you got Red Bull, Bull Creek.
So boys golf is Coach Parker, and then girls golf is Coach McCabe. And Coach Parker, even though he's retired now, he still is the head coach for the boys. And Coach McCabe, she took over after Coach McDaniel retired a few years ago. Both programs have done exceptional over the last few years. Boys golf actually were the state runners-up this past season, which was huge for them. We've got a lot of young guys who are coming back, a lot of young talent, freshmen, sophomores who did great this past season, and then we've got some juniors and seniors who are going to come in and to build on that momentum from last year.
All right, talk about the soccer programs. Both the boys and girls had success. The boys winning a state championship for the first time in school history. So who are the soccer coaches? And what are some of the expectations coming up for the soccer season?
Boys soccer coach last season was Coach Torres. This upcoming season, Coach Casper will be taking over for Coach Torres, who is no longer here at Columbus High School. And then for the girls, Coach Lovin is the head soccer coach. Both programs had exceptional seasons last year. Being able to follow them on that road as they were playing, they were able to host here, which I think actually helped them on that road to their state championship. The boys was great. They were able to have the home team out there. A lot of our students were able to come out and watch them play, both teams making it as far as they did. And then, like you said, the boys eventually winning that state championship for the first time in program history.
It's incredible.
It was crazy to watch, being able to go up there and sit in the stands and watch, and sitting on the edge of your seats, because that was a very exciting game. I don't know if y'all were able to watch it all, but they actually ended up going into, they had extra time. So
that was dramatic.
It was like, y'all just go ahead and let's win this, because I don't know if my heart can take any more of this. It was really exciting, and I'm excited for where the program's going to go next year.
Yeah, and the programs just continue building, and you see former Columbus Blue Devils and Lady Blue Devils playing at the next level.
Correct.
Like Megan Byers, who played for the Columbus Rapids. She played for Columbus in the early 2010s, scored the first goal in Columbus Rapids history. On the boys' side, you have several players that are playing for Columbus United under Coach Brett Teach. So I really like the direction that Columbus soccer for the boys and girls is going. Moving from those sports, we are going to talk about track and field.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were also the track and field coach, or who's the track and field coach?
Last season, Coach Peters was the head coach, and I was one of the assistant coaches. I primarily did the sprints and jumps, and we had Coach Amabile, who did distance. We had Coach Church, who helped with high jump and anywhere else that we needed help, Coach Keys, and Coach Wooten.
And finally, very unique, because you're the only school here in Muskogee County that has this sport, and I'm talking about lacrosse.
Yes.
So who is the lacrosse coach? What is the region like? Like, who are some of the teams you play? And where do you practice? Where's the lacrosse field? I haven't seen a lacrosse field, so I'm wondering, like, is it have to be a special lacrosse field to practice on?
So our lacrosse team will be coached this year by Coach Hirschman, and she'll have 2 assistants with her. They actually practice over at Britt David, which is an added challenge, but they're able to clearly adapt and make it work. They play their games out at Connect Stadium. They are, like you said, the only team in the city. So a lot of the times when we're playing, if we're not having a team that comes down and play us, then we'll go up to Atlanta and we'll play those schools up there.
Well, I promise I will brush up on the rules of lacrosse, so Georgia Alabama Sports Live could live stream a lacrosse match.
Yes.
That would be amazing. And finally, do you have esports? That was another.
We have had them in the past. I'm not sure at this point who will be taking over that program, because the person that was coaching, they have stepped down and they're no longer at Columbus High School. But I do know that the kids love that, and that's a growing sport. Difficult sport to have. It is a little expensive, but the kids that were part of that team always raved about it, and they were excited about having that.
Oh, and finally, tennis.
Yes.
So who is the tennis coach? You guys go play at a Cooper Creek Park?
So they'll play at Cooper Creek. They play at Columbus Country Club, and then they also play at Otis Spencer. The girls are coached by Coach Hill, and the boys are coached by Coach Brooks Melinder. And our boys' tennis team actually won state last season. So
wow.
Both of those tennis teams had excellent seasons last year. Girls just came up a little short, but being able to go out to Otis Spencer and watch them compete, it was some exciting tennis that was going on out there. Both coaches did excellent with the seasons that they had. Lost a few seniors on both sides, on the boys and girls, but I don't think coaches, either one of them, Coach Brooks Melinder or Coach Hill, will have problems rebuilding their program with the talent that they lost.
Now, one thing about Columbus High, a lot of sports. Are there any sports that you wish that Columbus High had, or is there any sports that you're trying to build up to try to maybe get some interest? I know we talked about esports, but I think you've pretty much covered all the sports. I mean, I know I asked if you had gymnastics. I know that not a whole lot of high schools have that at that level, but is there any other sports that you like, I wish that we had this sport?
Not any sports that I can think of off the top of my head. I know you mentioned gymnastics. We don't have that program, but I know a lot of schools up further north do have gymnastic programs. I know one of the things that we hear a lot of interest about, boys volleyball and boys
yes.
lacrosse. Those are two sports that you can hear a lot of the guys around the school talking about they wish that we had. Building up, like you said, lacrosse, even more than what it already is, and getting the turnout just across the board so that we're able to go out and compete. We just want to make sure that the athletic program here at Columbus High School is able to compete, not just here locally, but across our region and across the state.
Absolutely. And Coach, talk a little bit about your facilities. Is there any upgrades? I mean, what are some of the things that they're working on to improve the facilities, and what are some of the things that have happened over the last couple of years?
So like you said, the weight room that we're in has undergone some construction over the last few years. They did an addition on, and you can kind of see where over there they added a little bit on there to just give us a little bit more room. And we added with that, I think we were able to get in about 3 or 4 more racks, which means that now we're going to reduce the amount of time that those student athletes are sitting around waiting on their turn, which means you're able to get more reps in, so you're going to get bigger and stronger. Up in the gym, we've done a little bit of remodeling. Maybe if you go up there and we can look at it, you'll see where we've actually added in some new lighting, which actually makes the space feel a lot bigger. Gonna do hopefully some reconstruction with the concession stand area out there, change the lighting, which is going to make it a little bit more opening and inviting for the people when they come into the gym.
Yeah, if you haven't been to a Columbus basketball game or a volleyball, anytime you're in that gym, it's an absolutely amazing gym. I know that it's got kind of a historic feature. I mean, because this is the oldest school here in Columbus, and so a lot of these buildings are old, but they've been remodeled, renovated, and so you do have that nostalgia feeling to it, but because you know you've been in a building with a lot of history.
Right. We've had some really talented student athletes who have come through these doors, who've stepped in the weight room in the gym, and being here, it's pretty great.
Absolutely, and I always enjoy going to the baseball field and just seeing all those championship banners, and of course, the number that's been retired, the number 5, Frank Thomas, says MLB Hall of Famer.
Yes.
That's absolutely incredible. And my final question to you, Coach, is what are some ways that alumni of Columbus High can contribute to help building the athletic program? Because it just doesn't just take money, it takes time, it takes just sacrifice from just helping out with just anything. What can they do to be a booster, and what are some ways that they can donate their time and their funds?
Anytime they want to donate whether it's their time and they're coming in, I know when we have pregame meals, helping serve those meals. If we've got gear to pass out, helping pass that gear out. If you want to, if we're having fundraisers, maybe you don't give financially, but just spreading the word and helping get the word out whenever we do have those fundraisers, because the more people who are aware of them, they're going to be more likely to help in donating their money, spreading the word again, like I said. So anytime you look online, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Columbus High School Athletics, or if you have questions or want to donate maybe snacks for football or any other sports, water, Gatorade, anything like that, just contacting either me or Coach Mathis, and we can definitely make sure that the sports that you're interested in helping out get that information.
Well, Coach, I am excited about this upcoming school year in the new reclassification.
Absolutely.
All those rivalries are going to be renewed.
Yes.
Like with Jordan and Hardaway.
Yes, Hardaway's the big one that we're pushing this year. Midtown Showdown is what we're calling it. So just be on the lookout and see what Coach Mills and Coach Mathis and I kind of put together, and hopefully we can get the community to come out and buy into that as well.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a great interview, Coach, and I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to talking to you again and just getting an update from everything that's great happening here at Columbus High.
All right, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
That is the Assistant Athletic Director of Columbus High, Coach Danielle McCoy. I want to thank Chris Gates, our producer. Without his expertise and his hard work, none of this would be possible. So from Thrift Behringer, Chris Gates, I'm Richard Holdridge saying so long from Columbus High School. This has been yet another episode of Sitting Down with an Athletics Director, State of the Programs. We'll see you next time.